What's up, Wellness Rebranded fans? This is Elizabeth. We have all been there. You search healthy dinner ideas, and the next thing you know, you've fallen into a Google rabbit hole of conflicting advice and second-guessing whether or not the recipe is healthy enough, and somehow end up ordering takeout. The Nourish Table solves this problem entirely. Every recipe is handpicked by me, which means it's actually delicious and nutritious. It comes with a done-for-you shopping list, so you're not left scrambling at the grocery store, and I give you ideas for how to repurpose each dish into multiple meals, so you can spend less time cooking. If you want recipes you can trust, come join us at the Nourish Table. ElizabethHarrisNutrition.com/recipe-club. I'd love to see you on the inside.
Welcome to Wellness Rebranded.
We know there is so much conflicting health and fitness advice out there.
And you're tired of the wellness fads, endless diets, and impossible standards that make you feel like nothing you do is ever enough.
You're ready to tune into your mind and body and feel empowered around health.
We're the healing trio here to help you redesign your relationships with food, fitness, and yourself.
I'm Elizabeth, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor.
I'm Maria, licensed mental health therapist.
And I'm Tara, personal trainer.
Together, we're changing the narrative on health away from diet culture, hustle culture, and toxic positivity and towards healthful self-care.
So grab your water bottle, get ready to laugh, learn, and grow,
and let's start rebranding your wellness journey.
I was contacted recently by a person who wanted to hire me to bring me as a speaker to an event that she was organizing. So we scheduled a phone call so I could hear more about what this event was. She wanted to bring me as a mental health therapist. She actually heard me at another event where I was a speaker. So as we were talking on the phone about what she wanted, it was an event for women about beauty and self-love. And this person owns a hair salon in a different state where we are. And her idea was to invite her clients and any women in the community to this event to talk about inner beauty and feeling good about ourselves and all that. So as we're talking, I had the idea of also asking if she had any other speakers for the event. And she said yes, and the other speaker was a personal trainer. And I said, oh, what is the personal trainer talking about? Is the personal trainer's goal is about before and after her body or losing weight? And very casually, she's like, yeah, she's going to be talking about how losing weight is a good way to love yourself, and her story about how she had a certain weight and then work on it and lost her weight and then motivate women for that. So I had this conversation with this person, which would have gone completely different 3 years ago, right? I would have been like, oh, okay, see you then. I'll be your speaker. However, this time I said, okay, hold on a second. What is your goal with this event? What is the message that you want these women to walk away with? She's like, well, the importance of feeling beautiful and support your body. I'm like, because if one of the speakers in this event is saying that a way to love yourself and to gain value is to lose weight, let's talk about how this message is aligned with what you really want to bring, and also let you know that if that's the message, I'm not the speaker for your event. And I'm going to tell you why. My approach will be to talk to these women about paying attention to all the pressures and the expectations that we have out there that make us question our own value and even our own beauty, and all these standards that we keep putting ourselves that are many times unreachable to finally get to that place where we love ourselves and we like ourselves more. My approach is to try to erase that and actually know that beauty and value that you have is there despite what you do, what you don't do, what other people say, etc. If as a beauty salon, your message is that your hair needs to be blow dried and you have to have that skin treatment or you have to have that makeup on, and that's what we're selling in that event because that's the message of how we women are going to feel pretty and valuable, and we have to lose weight. With all due respect, I cannot and don't want to be part of that kind of event because then the message is completely opposite to what I, as a mental health therapist, believe. There was a silence in the conversation.
I can only imagine, right? Like, what?
There was a silence. I waited because I've also learned with experience to be comfortable in silences, right? And I waited. And I'm like, it could be that she's going to insult me back. It could be that
Did she hang up?
maybe she hung up.
Hello?
Maybe the
Can you hear me?
information is sinking in. And ladies, it was a magical moment because this woman said, oh my goodness. I felt in her voice like, what have I been doing for so long, right? Like, what is the message, right? And she said, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Do you have time to make this conversation longer? And I'm like, actually, I do. Long time. Let's talk. And she's like, you're absolutely right. Like, she felt it, like, even for her own life, right? And she's like, you're right. So tell me more. And I'm like, listen, we have attached beauty and value to so many things, right? And what if it's beyond the mirror? This beauty is beyond the weight, is beyond the hair. So how do you want these women to leave your event feeling like? Because what you're describing to me, I'm going to leave this event, thinking I need to have my hair done. I have to have my makeup. I have to look good. I have to wear good clothes. I have to lose weight. And the amount of pressure and the message here of how you need to do more to be valuable, or this is the recipe for you to finally feel good about yourself, that's one feeling, right? But if the feeling is, I offer these services which happen to be blow dry your hair or color it, or also makeup or hair treatments, but you do it as a way to feel good about yourself every now and then, reward yourself for something or take care of your skin, but it doesn't measure your value. We're talking about two completely different things.
Well, I think when you sent us that text message of like, guys, you're not going to believe what just happened to me.
I was shaking. That's like a whole fee you're going to miss here for money you're missing.
Girl, you're so brave.
But it didn't feel right to go.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, when you told us that story, Tara and I both had the exact same reaction, which is like, heck yeah, go Maria. That's awesome.
So proud of you.
We're so proud of you. And then also teach us your superpowers.
Yes.
For how you have the balls, I suppose.
BALLS.
Elizabeth's coming out.
I was like, wait, did I mean to say it that way? How you...
Here's the beep. Have the...
So how you have like the confidence to like have a sort of confrontational, what could be a confrontational conversation like that?
Well, because to be honest with you, when people are describing the event, I love to have the movie in my head of what that's going to look like. Like I picture in my head. And I'm picturing all these women in an event where the messaging is like, do this to feel valuable, do this to feel pretty, lose the weight, you wear the makeup. And I was like, that's exactly the opposite of my messaging. Exactly the opposite. So I remember I told her, well, first of all, I don't want to do it. But second of all, if you are going to bring me, imagine me saying all these things. And right after me or before me, there's this woman saying, this was my weight and I didn't feel valuable and I didn't feel that I deserve a place in this world or whatever it is that she felt, even I'm putting words in her head. And this is my story of how I found freedom and happiness and value is by losing weight. So even for the sake of your event, why would you bring two contradictory speakers?
Yeah, or it could be the other way, right? Like all those other people go before you and then you come up and you're like, okay, everything they just told you is wrong.
And I would.
Right.
And this is the problem.
Yeah.
I would, because I like to get to the events in advance to get like a sense of being part of the event before I speak. And I've done it before. If I disagree a little bit, I let it pass. But if it's something that hits me in the core, and I strongly disagree, and I have only the little bit of concern that anybody in the audience might feel affected negatively by what that person just said, I would go in front of the microphone and say, with all due respect, I'm going to bring a different perspective to what I just heard. And this is my perspective. When you bust myths, it's important, right? Because I don't want people living with the idea, oh yeah, this is what it is. So I'm not going to do it if it doesn't align with my messaging, because then I'm cheating on myself and I'm cheating on my mission and my purpose. And I feel that I'm cheating on all those women out there that are listening to my message, and we're growing past those patterns that we've been living by for so many years. It wouldn't even make sense for me to have this podcast if I would go and be part of an event that talks about these things.
I love the way you just said that, growing past the patterns that we've been stuck in for years or that the world has tried to thrust upon us. Like, such a great visual for me of how, like, so many of us have been handed those patterns. I mean, really all of us. But we can grow past them. And you're right that I would also be super selective about who I'd be standing up against. I would just quietly probably turn down the invitation and know in my head the reason why.
Yeah.
More likely than like actually having the direct sort of conversation. That's what I was super impressed by.
And
Totally.
that's an option, Elizabeth. But I heard from that woman, I feel that that conversation that ended up being like 45 minutes instead of 15, I think I brought up some ideas to this woman of how she could approach even her business
Oh,
differently.
1,000%.
And personally, I feel that hearing that was necessary. Like, really, from a woman to a woman, it was basically like, sweetie, I've been there. It's possible to break that pattern, and let's not keep doing it to each other. It's
Yeah.
like, let's really bring some change, and we can start here. So it was an awareness conversation. At the end, by the way, if you're curious, I didn't end up speaking anyway because I sent my fee and apparently was out of their budget. But that's okay. My hope is that with that conversation, they switched a little bit what the purpose and the goal of that event. But it's important to speak up. And that's part of this message is like, it's scary. I was shaking a little bit. I'm like, oh my goodness, Maria, here you go. But it's important to speak up because there's no change in silence.
Well, I agree with you. There's power in speaking up. And surely, like, this whole podcast is us speaking up, right? And a conversation that I have with clients sometimes when they will say, oh, but my mother-in-law always says this, or I have a friend who really is like so stuck here and is always saying this. And that, like, a lot of times when people are going through the journey of breaking up with diet culture, opting out, unlearning it, and then simultaneously trying to heal their relationship with food, you can be in conversations or around people who aren't there, who are still very much stuck in diet culture, and it can be tricky to figure out how to navigate it. And I always say, like, it's not your responsibility to educate everyone else or to always be the one kind of doing the advocacy.
Correct.
So the filter that I use as a professional, in fact, it literally just happened. I was on vacation with my husband, and people find out I'm a dietitian, and then like the conversation goes in a million directions, and people start kind of often will be spouting off diet culture to me. And I almost always am just quiet about it. And my husband will say to me later, like, you hated that conversation, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And sometimes he'll say, well, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, because I put people through the filter of, well, one, like, what's my bandwidth at any given moment? I'm on vacation. Do I really want to have a work conversation?
Right.
No, I don't. So that was like reason number one.
Yeah.
But two, I also put it through the filter of like, is this person reachable and teachable? Because there's so many people that are so deep stuck in it and aren't even anywhere close to being ready to come out of it, that it's just wasted breath. They're never going to get it. They're never going to agree with you. The conversation's not going to be helpful or productive for either of you. And so why have that conversation, right? But then there are people that are actually reachable and teachable, and maybe they don't know about it, or maybe you're introducing, like in this case, you shared with her something, a perspective that she didn't have, and she was obviously receptive to it, and it was powerful, and that's awesome. But I guess my only point was like, I don't want everyone out there thinking like you have to say something every time, because you don't.
No, you don't have to, but you can. I don't do it every time either, right?
Yeah.
As a therapist, I'm not going to plant seeds every time I can. So you have the choice to just let it pass. You have the choice to plant the seed. But my invitation for sure is the other way around. Like, when you become so clear of what your path is and you found that spot that feels so comfortable for you and aligns with how you want to live, when all these external things happen and those comments, you're now in a better place when you have the freedom of choosing to say something and say, no, I don't do that, or no, I don't have to clean my plate. Like you can say something to the person, or you can just stay quiet, but it doesn't affect you the same way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? In any other moment of my life, I would have probably said, oh yeah, come speak, and then be super uncomfortable, and then being uncomfortable that day,
Yeah.
listening to the other speakers. And then I did so much work to bring that clarity to myself that no, I'm not going to put myself through being uncomfortable and doing something that doesn't align to what makes me feel right about the work that I do or the life that I want to have. That's my point. That is so worth it to make that effort and to do that work.
Yeah.
So then you know how to respond and how to expose yourself to either comments or events or whatever that is, you know? And we've talked about it. When you do that work and you go to that Thanksgiving meal and somebody says something stupid like, oh, Elizabeth, you look skinnier. Good for you. That's so great. And they're celebrating a body change in your body. Then when you've done the work, you have the freedom of choosing, hey, you know, I would appreciate you don't talk about my body, or hey, or then you want to pick that bone too sometimes and say, by the way, you think that a change in weight in my body is actually what you want to talk about. Let's talk about it. Does that make me more pleasant to you?
I'm
Does
coming
that
to
make me
Thanksgiving in Maria's
a
house.
better person? I mean, it depends. Sometimes I
Aunt
really
Sally.
pick the bone and sometimes I don't. But to your point, you have that freedom and you do it assertively, but it's a choice when you know what road you're in.
I think the coolest part about this conversation that Maria had with this woman is the ripple effect.
Yeah.
From this.
Exactly.
So, like, Maria totally opened this lady's mind to a different way of viewing bodies and how we gauge value. And this woman owns a beauty salon, so she talks to like hundreds of people every week. And I just think about like where that leads. You know, if she talks to even like 5 people in a week about, dude, I was going to do this event and then I was talking to this presenter and this happened. And, you know, now I'm thinking about doing this, like blah, 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 blah. Right? Like those people are going to ripple out and it's going to create this movement, you know, like the butterfly effect here. And it got me thinking about how we can create that ripple like in our own lives by like carefully choosing what we support or don't support. And I think the easiest way to think of this is like social media, right? There's so many influencers out there who are all about weight loss and they have millions of followers. So the algorithm pushes them out to everyone, even people who don't want that type of content. But by amplifying weight neutrality or weight neutral voices like ours, side note, you know, it helps create that ripple effect there, and it helps tamp down some of the diet culture that's out there.
Yeah. You know how I feel, Tara? I feel that when we were having that conversation, imagine somebody in the ocean, like in a current or in a river, you're going with the current and you're planning this event and you're going through your life with the current that you have been for so long and it feels comfortable. You know the rhythm of the current, you know the temperature of the water. I feel that with that conversation, I almost like grab her hand for a minute and say, get out of that current for a minute and see that there are other rivers you can go to that have a different temperature, a different strength in the water. It's okay to get out of the current that you've been in for so long and see that there are other ways, because we are victims of that current, right? Until somebody doesn't bring your hand and say, hold on, let me, and really pull you out and say, take a second just to see those waters from outside and look around and see that there are other options. That's how I felt that conversation went by.
It feels like the analogy for this current would be like diet culture current is full of like sharks and, you know, like whirlpools trying to suck you down.
But you're used to it and you learn to swim those waters. You don't realize that they're sharks because you're used to it. You don't think there's anything
you don't know there's
else.
other waters where you don't have to dodge the sharks.
Exactly. So to end here, I just want to tell you what.
But wait, could I say one other thing before you end? Another thing that jumped out at me with the story, besides just the ripple effects, is also like how much transforming your relationship with food and body impacts all the areas of your life, right? Like it's not just about the food on your plate or how you show up at the gym or the conversations that you have within your household, but like think about that changed how you show up in your career. The fact that you've done this healing and transformation, and it just like reminds me how impactful it is in so many areas of our lives.
Yes, absolutely. Because we're not separate entities. We're a whole package. I mean, everything that happens around you is part of you, right? We can put it like in different compartments. So the title for this event that never happened, or at least not with me, maybe she used the same title for her event. But after going through different titles and me even helping you come up with something more aligned with what I do, I actually ended up liking it a lot. And this is the message that I want to leave this episode with. It's beyond the mirror. Is redefining beauty from a self-love standpoint, right? So it's redefining your beauty based on your self-love and not the mirror. So that's my message. Yes, it was very nice. That's what we chose. And then she told me I was too expensive, but
Not too expensive,
But
girl.
worth
Just
it.
outside of her
exactly.
budget.
Outside of her budget.
Not too
Which is
expensive,
fine,
beyond her
girl.
budget.
Yeah.
Beyond the mirror and her budget.
So
Worth every penny.
ladies and gentlemen, we have to have these conversations that nobody taught us about beauty, like how to build that self-love beyond your appearance. And that's the key. And that was the key. And yeah, if you ever want to bring me to be a speaker at any of the events, now you know, I'm going to tell you right off the bat if it doesn't feel aligned. But if it does feel aligned, I promise you, it's going to be heck of an event, people. Heck of an event.
Yeah.
With a very
and
good
also
speaker.
be sure to pay Maria what she's really worth, because it will make your
When I-
event,
yes.
you get what you pay for.
When I
Yeah.
send you my
It will be worth
fees,
it.
pay them.
If you loved this conversation, I would love for you to go listen to episode 172, From Body Image Struggles to Female Leadership, Why True Women's Wellness Starts with Self-Worth. I think that was a really fun conversation that you would enjoy. So go check it out.
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara De Leon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.